Are you tired of career politicians forcing their decisions on you? What your medical choices are, where your children go to school, how your business is run? As your state representative, Clinton Cowart, Savannah native, will fight to support your choices for your Georgia.
And welcome to the Libertarian Affiliate Spotlight on LPTV, a production of the Libertarian Party Affiliate Support Committee. Valerie Sarwark, of course, serving as chair, and the Libertarian National Committee, Whitney Bilyeu as chair. As always, John Gabso joins us on the big board. He's the one that gives us the infotainment, the graphics, the links. Most importantly, manages and supervises the most important segment of the show, and of course, that's shameless self-promotion. Listen, the ad that you just saw, we're going to start a little new thing on the show. We're going to liven things up. If you are a candidate and you have produced a 15 or a 30-second ad, send me the MP4, and we're going to play it on LPTV. We're going to do everything we can to share best practices and also promote that. You know what? Out of our down ballot candidates and our affiliates, we've got an event coming up, and you've done a 15 or a 30-second commercial. We're going to figure out a way to squeeze it into the production schedule here. You can send it to, well, I'll figure out the address you can send it to. But we're here at the show. I'm on the Facebook. I know you guys know how to find me. Tonight, very special affiliate spotlight. Joining me is my good friend, Tony Dorazio. He is the vice chair of the Libertarian Party of New York. As we've mentioned, one of our other focuses is to promote these summits that are starting to occur at states across the nation. And they're wonderful events. The very first one we did was, of course, the Alaskan Gold Rush. We talked extensively about the Pennsylvania Liberty Summit. Tony is here tonight to talk about the Empire State Freedom Summit. Tony, thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, Pat, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So let's talk about the focus and the purpose. It's a 3-day event. It's going to be effectively the Woodstock of the 21st century for New York. That's what I've heard.
The Woodstock of the 21st century. I think you're underselling it a little bit, Pat.
Okay.
Come on, dial it up a little bit. Come on.
All right. So the unpublicized rave that's going to be at 3:00 in the morning at the Collegian Hotel and Suite, I'm not supposed to talk about, right?
I've got my MDMA and my glow sticks. I'm all set. So we got a lot of activities planned for the weekend. It's gonna be a great time. We decided what would happen if we took a game show, a business meeting, a convention, a fundraiser, probably a lot of alcohol because there's a bar at the hotel, and freedom and rhythm in New York State in the middle of autumn. That's what we get. We get the Empire State Freedom Summit. So we haven't held an event like this, and I mean we haven't really had a big in-person event since 2019, which I know a lot of states are suffering from. I think most people know that under King Cuomo and now Queen Hochul, this has been one of the tougher states to deal with in the pandemic. So we really want to go all out for this one. So it is a big 3-day event with a lot of special guests.
Now, I was fortunate enough, I was actually blessed to spend the 2020 convention with the fine folks of the Empire State in, again, what I always say is the Las Vegas of the Northeast. And of course, I'm talking about Syracuse, New York. And I was always, I think so fondly of that because of the camaraderie. And for a lot of libertarians who, because of travel restrictions and the omnipotent state and the collective and the just fill in the blanks, a lot of folks spent the convention at home. And to me, one of the very first time I went to a libertarian convention was the 2016 Garython. And the first sense that I had when I was going to my first convention like that was, wow, there's thousands of people like me. Holy cow. And then you connect with all sorts of folks who you maybe met virtually, maybe met online, maybe met in person once or twice. And now all of a sudden you're in this big old crowded facility where, let's just say, the variety of personalities can flower in the libertarian movement. Some through the sheer love of liberty, others perhaps influenced by a variety of mood ameliorating substances. But at the same time, the provocative nature of many was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And then, of course, with 18, I was there. 2020, now all of a sudden, the big letdown. How important is it, not only just for New York State, but anyone who can make it to go to an event like this, or the one in Pennsylvania, or, maybe you are fortunate enough to go up to Alaska. How important are these events, given the events of the last year or so?
They're really important. I think we as libertarians, we are a small and plucky bunch, and this has been really, the pandemic and all the restrictions have been both a little bit demoralizing, at least for some, but also galvanizing, because now all our lives we've been kind of railing against, the cult of the omnipotent state, as we say. Never in our lives have we seen such violations of our civil liberties, and to see libertarians and, frankly, libertarian adjacent people band together, has, and not just in one state, but across the country and, frankly, around the world. It's been motivating. It's not only been demotivating, but also motivating. And now we're at a position where we as libertarians can get together in the same room and actually shake each other's hand or give people hugs if that's what we want. Some of us kind of like the not hugging thing, but we have the opportunity to get together and be together and plan together for what's to come, because what is to come is the 2022 election season. And in New York, that is a big deal. That is a ballot access race. It's our gubernatorial race. I know we aren't alone in that. There are several states where they're also having ballot access races and ballot access fights. And the way that we mobilize, the way that we plan, the way that we motivate each other, the way that we motivate ourselves is to get together. How many of you have gone to one of these gigantic meetings and come out of there so fired up that you just thought you could take down the world? I know I do when I come out of almost every libertarian meeting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, one of the reasons why we wanted to do what we're doing in Syracuse, everything we're doing is centered around growing our roles, growing our ranks, growing our power ahead of that 2022 election, making sure we can get a candidate on the ballot, whoever that may be. I mean, I have a pretty sharp idea who it's going to be, but, he hasn't said. You see what I did there?
No, it's pretty tricky.
Pretty tricky. I was subtle about that. We're going to need resources, be that time, talent, or your fiat currency, which is why we've got this event going. We're starting off on Friday night with something a little more social, something a little more fun. We're gonna have a little family feud going on. It's going to be
wow. That's ironic.
yeah, that's going to be
purely a simulation. Now, I'm just going to ask this. I have to. There will be metal detectors at the door.
I don't know. I don't think they'll have metal detectors at the door. I think it's going to be okay. I think it's going to be a fun event. Oof, that pun.
Sorry about that.
Glad to know all my friends are watching. All three of them.
Do we have a sound effect here? Just push one of the buttons. Yeah.
Tonight's guest.
Hey. All right, we have that now.
You packed in the live studio audience for me there, Pat. So really.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Please. I love the sound effects. So we're starting on Friday night with a social event, including Family Feud. There's going to be opportunities to join in the game. It's going to be hosted by our good friend Larry Sharp, who isn't running for anything at all,
Right.
and will feature the Cohen family, Tasha and her spouse.
Right.
Um,
And a Cohen to be named later.
Going to be named later. And then on Saturday, that's where we're going to get into the more of the building, where we're going to have a whole full slate of speakers, highlighted by of course Pat Ford.
Yikes.
Yeah, he is the one draw. So boy, I hope he pulls through.
I'm working on the shyness thing. Okay.
Just in case. Yeah, I'm also a shrinking violet, Pat. I get it.
Yeah.
Just in case that falls through, we've also got Spike Cohen, Larry Sharp, Scott Horton. Got a whole list of speakers.
Wow.
All day. It is a great list of speakers. It is an embarrassment of speaker riches. It really is.
I had the opportunity to interview Scott Horton, actually one prominent time, and it was an amazing event because it wasn't just an interview; it was an event. And for someone who is as verbose as I am, I think I said, "Hey, Scott, welcome to the coalition. Why don't you give us a little insight into what's happening in the Middle East?" And it was great because an hour later, I said, "Scott, thanks for joining us." It was amazing. By the way, this is how good. I've never seen Scott Horton live. I shared that interview with a number of fairly radical left-wing peace groups and wonderful people, but on a very different political level than, say, the Libertarian Party. And you know what their response was? They invited him on their show. So that's how universal the message of Mr. Scott Horton is. He is finally, I think, asserting himself as one of the preeminent speakers on Middle East and the war in the country. And that's, you have to see him. In fact, this is what's amazing. You've got this sort of, if you will, this lineup of individuals that are really, it's kind of like a libertarian bucket list. If you haven't seen Larry Sharp, you got to see Larry Sharp. And if he doesn't touch on it in the speech, you need to make sure you get a chance to spend a couple minutes with him and ask him about planting a seed and how about not having arguments with people. It will change your political perspective forever. Of course, Spike Cohen is Spike Cohen. It's the preeminent libertarian messenger, if you will, message and messenger in the libertarian movement. And then add Scott Horton to that, and wow. So you by just taking a drive up the scenic New York State interstate system, you've got an opportunity to literally fill out your libertarian bucket list in one weekend. That's exciting.
Yeah, I really think so too. Just kind of as an aside, and I know we're here to talk about the summit, but I want to make sure that I put in a plug for something else that's going on. Spike Cohen is actually spending the entire week in New York. He's going to be traveling the state and doing a college tour for throughout the whole week. So stay tuned to his social media for that as well. And when I say that one of the goals of this is to build enrollment, Libertarian Party enrollment, so we can really grow our power and have the forces to get Larry or whoever may be on. Oops, wasn't coy there that time. I mean whoever might be our candidate on the ballot. That's really starting from the youth. Is really the way to go. I mean, let's show them liberty early and make them libertarians for life. That's the philosophy there. So that's what Spike's going to be doing in the week during the weeks before and after the summit. He and Tasha are spending the week in the state, touring the state. So we're really appreciative of that. That's fantastic. So we're going to have so he's of course one of the speakers. It's a great lineup of speakers. A lot I haven't mentioned. If you go to LPNY.org, you'll see that we have a link to the Liberty Summit. We're going to start having bios of all the speakers. It's a great list of speakers that I can't really say enough good things about. A lot of good friends of mine too. So
Right.
I just have to thank them all. And then on Saturday night, this is where the fun really begins. We are having a fundraiser on Saturday night at a nearby facility in Syracuse, owned by a libertarian, run by a libertarian, a different libertarian, called the Rail Line, and we're calling it Scofflaws Off the Rails. It is a speakeasy fundraiser. That's right.
Nice.
We are doing a Roaring 20s themed fundraiser. So bring out your flapper dresses, or I don't know, your Tommy guns.
You need me to bring out my flapper dress? Okay.
Yes,
For you, Tony?
Pat. Yes, that's what I want to see.
And by the way,
price of admission right there, right there.
And by the way, I think it was day 2 of the convention was at the satellite New York State Convention.
Yeah,
Actually at the rail line.
Yeah, you've been to the facility. Yeah,
yep, great joint.
It is a great facility, and they are. There's a lot of surprises coming. Perhaps Spike and I should have another illegal salsa party coming to Syracuse. I hope so. They are definitely our special guests for that fundraiser that night. So we encourage everybody to come on out and please come out. And then on Sunday, there are 17 people. Yeah. Tom would be one of those 3 friends, by the way. I count him among the 3. And he knows that. On Sunday, we're going to have our business meeting of the state committee. So if you really want to see the inner workings of how a political party works, and all the important decisions and influences that happen in a formal meeting. If you want a nuanced lesson on how Robert's Rules of Order work, I know I'm selling this for everybody, aren't I? But in all seriousness, I mean, there's some business we have to take care of, and we're using this weekend as part of this to take care of some of our business and to be transparent about it too, because it's open to libertarians. As a little bit of an enticement for people to stay at the meeting, and maybe come stay. We actually have a lunchtime speaker on Sunday. Karen Ann Harlos will be our lunchtime speaker on Sunday, which is great. She actually acted as our parliamentarian in our organization meeting when we became a real party recognized by the state.
Excellent. Talk to us about some of the, if you will, and I don't want to call them classes, but the seminars that different speakers are going to have, and particularly on Saturday, which is where the bulk of the educational opportunities will be.
Well, I mean, it's not just about hookers and blow. I'm not going to say not hookers and blow. But
right.
But we're going to talk a lot about mobilizing people. We're going to talk a lot about how to get media, earn media, how to get and use social media effectively.
Who's doing the social media class?
I'm going to leave that one as a surprise.
Okay.
But I know that there's going to be somebody there doing a nice class on earned media.
Yep.
I don't know who that might be, but he is our featured highlight speaker.
There you go. By the way, let me jump on that for a second.
Yeah.
The 30 or so minutes of quality time that I'll have with folks, it's going to be fun. It's going to be relaxed, but I'm on a mission, and that's really a big part of these 2 shows we do on LPTV. I'm on a mission to get libertarians comfortable in front of the camera and also simultaneously get them the opportunity to be in front of the camera and also on the radio and also on the, it's all going to be, the entire 30 minutes is going to be all about outward facing media. The notion that libertarians have not only should they have a place in the spotlight. They've earned that right. The seemingly endless battles that we have to get libertarians, if you will, on the ballot across the nation, and particularly in battleground states like New York, where we routinely overcome every obstacle put in our way. Again, the only political movement in this generation has been back-to-back 50-state ballot access. And then at the same time, and I've always taken a very positive spin towards the last election, as challenging as it was, where we've established a base of nearly 2 million Americans who will vote for a solidly libertarian candidate like Joe Jorgensen, who wasn't a governor before, is an esteemed academic, brilliant woman, but also represents the real party, the real ideals, the philosophy, the statement of principles. All of that, we've earned our way into a prominent presence in the media. And if nothing has been more of a proof of concept than this last year and a half that we spent under a variety of degrees of martial law around the nation, then I don't know what has. You know, Americans deserve the right to hear a libertarian perspective in making their calls, their judgments on who to vote for, who to elect, who to have on the ballot, who to represent them, not to govern, but to steward their community resources. They deserve that. So I'm fired up, buddy. I was supposed to have been in Pennsylvania. I couldn't because of a family issue. I'm fired up to be there. I want, great people in Pennsylvania are awesome. The New York folks, I've been on the field of battle with a little bit now, I feel like. And I just, I want to be one of those Sunday morning TV preachers. That's what I want to be.
And I got to tell you, coming out of the Empire State Freedom Summit, what we really want is people to walk out of there with one, the motivation, and two, the tools to really sell liberty. And of course, we're focusing on New York, but there's nothing really magical that we're going to be pulling out here that you couldn't apply to the other 49 states.
Right.
So that's really my hope. We have a broad array of speakers coming in to talk about a broad array of topics. And at the end of the day, people are going to be able to sell liberty more effectively. And more to the point, it's not just about, the classes and the speakers that we're putting on. It's about the networking. There are a lot of libertarians coming who, we all know. Raise your hand if you know a more than 100 libertarians on social media that you've never met in person. Yeah. I'm really excited to meet a whole bunch of these people in person and really network with them and start working together to build liberty on a nationwide basis.
Folks, if you're just joining us, this is the Libertarian Spotlight on LPTV. Tony Dorazio, he's the vice chair of the New York Libertarian Party and the moving force, the organizer, amongst many, for the Empire State Freedom Summit that's being held from November 5th to the 7th in scenic Syracuse, New York, literally in the center, if you will, of the entire region. It's going to be held at the Collegian Hotel and Suites. It's a three-day event. Events start Friday evening with a show somewhat euphemistically called Family Feud. Saturday, a full day, and this is going to be my term. I hope people don't mind it. But again, if you wanted a bucket list of libertarians to see in one spot, and I'll talk about a lineup. I mean, this is the libertarian equivalent of the Who being opened up by Santana, and then for the surprise act, Led Zeppelin. It's that good. So Tony, you've got some amazing candidates in New York.
We do. We do. We got a few. We got a few candidates here in 2021. I mean, it's really a state, not a state year, but really a local candidate year. We've got them running in pockets throughout the state. We've got a couple running in New York City. Of course, Stacey Pressman running for mayor. We've got several people. Suraj Jaswal is running for city council in Queens. He's running a great race. We've got Dwayne Whitmer, you know, who is a legend in the LPNY, running for Erie County Comptroller. We love the guy. We love our candidates. Next year, we've already had a couple of candidates declare. We're assuming a couple of other candidates are going to declare. I know at least one of them is going to be tabling at our summit. Thomas Queter is running for Senate.
He was just on a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
kind of a segment. It was his announcement swing, if you will. And I know Larry Sharp was out there, doing the door-to-door, knocking doors and knocking heads and banging it through his part of the state. And Thomas, of course, is an astonishing candidate, a liberty warrior. Most of folks know the story of Tom, but someone else you want to meet him. Tom, that's if you were going to have appointment tabling, that would actually be it. Tom Queter runs better than New York government. Yep.
Even with his upside down feet.
I'll get you with that one. And I'm hoping, I don't know, I know that the firearms laws are highly restrictive in the Empire State, which is obviously one of the reasons why we're so inspired to go up there. But my understanding, I've seen pictures of it. I would love to see a custom-made piece, if you will, that was presented to Mr. Queter during the last election, which is in itself quite provocative. It's when I say he's a warrior, he's a well-armed warrior, from my understanding.
Oh, yes, he is. Yes, he is. He is. I can't say enough great things about our candidates. I really can't. We've had like I said, we've had several candidates who have expressed intent or otherwise just flat out declared that they're running in 2022. And so it's not just the he who shall not be named who is going to be our gubernatorial candidate who we're supporting here. We're supporting all of these candidates. We're supporting congressional candidates. There is a U.S. Senate race. Chuck Schumer is up for re-election in 2022.
More Chuck for your buck.
I know, right?
And by the way, this is important. Every libertarian in America should understand that Chuck Schumer is a personal affront to the libertarian movement. Now, why do I say that as opposed to every other candidate of his ilk? If you believe in the Free Ross movement, if you believe that Ross Ulbricht should be a free man, then you need to understand that Chuck Schumer, and this is the opinion of station management, me, had a singular role in railroading Ross Ulbricht. Remember that. While he may act like the kindly, New York grandfather, he is not. As far as I'm concerned, Mr. Schumer is the personification of evil and the personification of repression of your civil rights in this nation. He is everything wrong with the Democratic Party. He is the poster child for these type of spiritual abominations that take place on a regular basis. Everyone needs to do something during this election. Every libertarian everywhere needs to do something in this election to hinder the success of Mr. Schumer. Find a way, make a couple phone calls, send a couple bucks. Do we have somebody running against him? Is that in the near future? Is there an announcement there?
Not that I'm aware of yet that anybody has announced. But we've heard people have expressed some interest, of course, in all of our statewide races, including that one.
Right.
We also have a comptroller and an attorney general race coming up in 2022, and we've had people who have expressed interest in those as well.
Excellent.
It's really important for us to run, especially in those statewide races, and just have as many libertarians on every ballot in New York. That's what we want. That's our goal. We want as many libertarians as possible on every ballot in New York State. Put the libertarian name in front of every voter in New York State.
Speak to, if you will, also the ballot challenges that are facing right now? Where do we stand with lawsuits, litigation, petitioning, the challenges of petitioning? I know these are tough issues.
These are
but-
tough issues. Oh, I didn't know this was going to be a 3-hour show. Okay, I'm kidding. I'll do it.
This is me.
I'll do it very quickly. So, when Larry Sharp ran in 2018, I can say that because he historically ran, not that he's a potential future candidate.
Right.
There were rules on ballot access. The only ballot access race was the gubernatorial race. And we earned our ballot access for the first time in our 50-year history. It was fantastic, and it's great. And we had automatic ballot access in 2019, and we got libertarians elected. We won a lot of elections. In 2020, in 2019, undercover, they tried to kind of sneak a little campaign finance reform in and turn the presidential race into a ballot access race and raise the thresholds on everything. So it was harder to gain and retain ballot access. It was harder to get on the ballot if you didn't already, if you weren't a Democratic or a Republican. It just they made our lives a lot harder, and yanked away our ballot access halfway through when we didn't reach the thresholds with Jo Jorgensen. She did respectably here. She did pretty well here, as opposed to the rest of the nation, but not enough. We really needed about 160,000 votes out of her, and we didn't get that. But we shouldn't have needed any votes out of her because they kind of snuck this in. Well, I've actually jumped a little bit ahead. They ended up sneaking. They ended up sneaking this provision not in the ballot access, not in the campaign finance commission, which was struck down, but more in the. But they've snuck it into the 2021 state budget. So right now we are currently suing the state in federal court to regain our ballot access, and we are co-plaintiffs in a lawsuit with the Green Party of New York, who are in the same boat, who ran into similar issues with their candidate, where they should not have had to worry about it.
Right.
So right now that's currently we filed a preliminary injunction, which was denied. That is currently in appeal in the Second Circuit. I'm bad at what circuit numbers we're in, and I'm the plaintiff. I'm a plaintiff on the case, so you'd think I would be paying more attention to those numbers, but it's in federal appellate court at this point, and we're waiting on a ruling on that. We're planning on needing to petition. The petitioning thresholds used to be 15,000 signatures to get on the ballot in New York State, and we had a 6-week time period to do it. That threshold is now 45,000, and we have a 6-week time period to get 45,000 signatures. So we think if we really lose our cases, and I don't see how we possibly can, but if we do, it's going to be a very expensive prospect to get our statewide candidates on the ballot, which is one of the reasons why we're having this fundraiser, we're having this summit.
Right.
Yes, we want to give people the tools, the will to go petition in March in New York State, but also we're going to need to hire people. We're going to need to pay for petitioning. We're going to need funds to do that. It's just that simple. So that's a lot of the reasons why we're doing this. It's a daunting prospect. It's a steep hill to climb, and I really hope we don't have to climb it, and I really hope that our court challenges win. But we have to plan that.
How much fun would it be to take the money that you're going to raise at this event and write checks to candidates and write checks to sign companies and write checks to television stations, as opposed to and by the way, this is in a sense, and it's literally a handful of days after the current election. This is the kickoff to the 2022 election season, the formal the formal kickoff. And how important is it to have a motivated, educated, trained group of individuals in New York State and its supporting in regions who can then articulate to folks the importance of a libertarian party candidate, the importance of our philosophy, how it could have significantly mitigated, all right, the terrible impact in New York State of COVID. And regardless of how you feel about the pandemic, it was savage in New York. And a failed, bloated, out of control, overweighted government contributed to the deaths of countless New Yorkers, in my humble opinion.
No, a lot of people share your opinion. I mean, it doesn't really matter how you feel. Here's what happened. We were locked down. Regardless of whether you think it was real or not, whatever you think, there were mandates in place that were damaging to businesses, that were damaging to the psyches of New Yorkers, that were damaging to the pocketbooks of New Yorkers. That happened. These things made it a lot harder for us to petition over the last couple of years. It just did. Society has changed. It's going to be harder to petition going forward. It's going to be more difficult.
Right.
So what I really want to tell my colleagues, because that's what they're going to be, they're my colleagues, is we need to get together and we need to fight, and we need to start now. We need to get our ducks in a row. We need to organize. We need to make sure that we are ready to run when we can, when we have to run. When we have to petition, we need to make sure that we're ready to petition. When it's time for us to campaign, we need to make sure we are ready to campaign, ready to get out and, shake all the babies and kiss all the hands. We need to make sure that we are ready to fight.
And that, my friend, is a message that needs to resonate around the United States. We don't have the grace or the opportunity to wait until 2024. The presidential election will be meaningless unless libertarians take to the streets, and I mean take to the streets, shut off the damn computers, take to the streets, march arm in arm as a unified organization, worried about the message, the philosophy, the statement, the principles, the movement. We need to do that. The time is now. We don't have the luxury of waiting to 2024. We don't have the luxury of waking up this spring and deciding, hey, this might be time. I heard there's an election coming up.
No, we really don't have that luxury. And we especially don't have that luxury in New York State. This is do or die time. This is an existential threat to our party. This is something that's going to affect our future. And the New York race is huge. And we're not the only ones in the country that are having big races. Like I said, there are going to be ballot access races across the country. This is one of the biggest ones. We're one of the most populated states. That's a fact. But there are so many other candidates who are going to need your help too. And it's really important that we are ready to fight, are ready to move, are ready to walk hand in hand with other libertarians, meet voters where they are, and sell liberty. Just sell liberty.
Andy Craig, I'm sorry, Doug Craig. Andy Craig is a great libertarian, but Doug Craig related a story to me on the Facebook a few weeks ago. And if you don't know Doug and you're down that way, go say hi. Great libertarian. And he mentioned that he was out at a location engaging in sort of a silent protest. Where I come from, we call them informational picket lines. And he was outside and he was holding a sign that said liberty. Not anti-mandates, not anti-vaccine, not anti-anything. He just simply said liberty. And he got booed. Imagine in the United States in the year 2021, there are those folks who are so illogical, so what's the term? Failure to launch. So unable to understand basic concepts of and when I say man, the greater man, a philosophy of our place in the universe, that we fail to support liberty, that we would rather willingly hand ourselves over to the omnipotent state, to a government that is so thoroughly out of control that they can't decide when bodily autonomy is good and when all of a sudden it represents a threat to our way of life. My friend, the logic and the absence of logic, I should say, absolutely baffles me.
I got to tell you, today in my mailbox, it's funny, kind of funny you mentioned that, Pat. Today in my mailbox, I got some mail from I live in the Rochester, New York area, so Monroe County. So one of the sets of elections this year is Monroe County Legislature, and I got a flyer, just a rat card or something in my mailbox, and the most prominent word on there was liberty. And I'm thinking, wow, I didn't know we were running a libertarian candidate here. I think it's really important that the Libertarian Party takes back the word liberty and teaches the voters what that means. Teaches voters on the left, the right, the independents, the disenfranchised, all of them, what liberty really means and what that can look like in 2022. We can do it. It's going to be a fight. Who's in?
Virtually almost every show I seem to end up on this subject, but I'll repeat it once for more time today for emphasis. Okay. Democrats in particular are traveling the nation virtue signaling about the right to vote. That in fact, Republicans, in a sense they're right, Republicans act in a manner directly designed to suppress the vote from a variety of minority groups around the nation, a variety of ethnic groups, a variety of economic groups. And my first reaction to that is that Democrats don't really get the word irony. So the analogy I often draw is that to Mother Russia, Soviet workers' paradise. If in fact you argue vociferously, as the Democrats do, and correctly, that everyone should have the right to vote and that we should make the practice of voting as easily, as accessible as possible, but while simultaneously aggressively working to tailor the laws of this nation, the state, the localities, municipalities, to actively work to prevent the rights of candidates run, to actively prevent the rights of grassroots political movements to nominate their candidates, whether it be Green Party, Working Families Party, Libertarian Party, Reform Party, name the party, make one up, I don't care. If you're actively working to do that, are you not as guilty or more guilty than the Republicans who are working to suppress the actual process of voting? Is there any difference? Are we any different from Soviet workers' paradise if we actively promote voting but refuse people choices? Are we going to end up being one of these states where 100% of the people vote, just you don't get to vote for who you want to? And is there any difference between the two? As is typically the case, none. They are hypocritical bastards. They will do everything they can to maintain that hold on power, that tight grip on power around the veins of our nation. And we will suffer mightily for that unless libertarians turn off that computer, get up out of the house, and take to the streets. For a lot of folks, that's not a comfortable process. Well, it's time. We got to work as a group, as a unit, as an organization, as a philosophy to do that. We must.
Yep. I agree, Pat. I'm going to take that one step further. I want libertarians to bring their natural talents. I want libertarians to bring what they're good at. Some libertarians are really good at going to rallies and screaming at the state and giving speeches. And some libertarians are great at raising money. And some libertarians are great at petitioning. And some are great at going to fairs and tabling. And some are great at knocking doors. Some are great at writing letters to the editor or lobbying. Bring your talents and use them for liberty. Use them for the Libertarian Party. Let's play to our strengths.
Every libertarian has superpowers.
Yes.
It's up to party organizations. This is what I think you guys do really well in New York. All right, is to develop those superpowers, explore, find out what those superpowers are, bring them to bear on the omnipotent state. Just do it.
Absolutely.
Just do it. And when we recognize the superpowers in others, it gives us freedom to explore our own and to fight like hell.
In New York, our superpower is to hold a 3-day party in Syracuse. You know,
I've been to one, remember.
you
Yeah,
know that we throw a hell of a party.
I seem to remember a whiskey tasting that took place. Fortunately, almost immediately after the convention's activities, we had something to eat and then went right to the bar in that facility, and it was a wonderful night. And by the way, and for those who were able to make it, a few of us, it was just kind of a coincidence. I found myself in New Rochelle a few weeks ago. Cody Anderson was there, and Mr. Donnelly was there. It was amazing. Consider the odds. And then we're sitting there around the dinner, and it was nice. Larry got the call. He ran up that afternoon and decided to give a speech. It was pretty powerful stuff. And I walked away after a full and rewarding evening, again, feeling empowered. Listen, we've only got a couple of minutes left, Tony. Let's engage in my favorite part of the show, and that's what we call shameless self-promotion. So tell us again how folks can arrive. Oh, hi, Eric. Let me read out Eric Cordova's statement. A great young leader of the movement. Every libertarian that brings their talents and get involved can reach many people. The more that are involved, the better our results. Absolutely. Hey, there you go. We also, whenever we mention the word Republican, we've got one of those wahs. You're gonna bring me up. We've got that going on too. Anyway, Tony, bring us home. Bring us that shameless self-promotion.
Go to lpny.org. Find those links that say New York Freedom Summit. Click on those links, register for the summit, come to Syracuse, come meet me, come hang out with me and Pat, and a whole bunch of other great libertarians, many of whom have commented on this video. Don't think I didn't notice, people. We'll be talking later. Especially you, Mr. Pinkasoff. Come see Spike Cohen. Come help us. Come help us fight the cult of the omnipotent state. Come help us fight Albany. Or come from another state and fight your own state capital. Get the tools. We'll give you the tools. We'll take your money. But we're going to give you also we're going to give you a hell of a good time.
There you go. A little bit of housekeeping here. Again, folks, if you're a candidate for 21 or 22, obviously for the next couple of weeks, we're going to prioritize 2021 candidates. If you're a candidate and you've done a 30-second commercial, and it can be pretty simple. We're going to play it here on the air on Mondays and Friday nights throughout the year. We want to give you a chance to show off your, if you will, your advertising skills. And again, it can be very straightforward. We had on the show a few weeks ago, and we'll play his on Friday night, Juan Ayala. He's running to be an alderman, if I got that right, in his town. And he did a very effective 30-second commercial. It was basically a very simple, straightforward fundraising appeal. And he managed to nail it because he talked about need, and he talked about needs fulfillment. And then he asked for a few bucks, not a lot of money. It was a very polite ask, but he made the connection between the needs fulfillment, and why he needed your financial support to do that. I encourage candidates to explore that. You need to ask for money. You need to get people to donate, not only for the obvious reasons, but for the investment that they then make in your candidacy and the connection that they will have forever. So that's why we want to focus on those and feature those. And we want to have it from candidates around the country. So you can send them to p4@coalitionradio.us. I'll think of something more memorable, or you can find me on the Facebook and send them by private message that way. Whatever works, just get the stuff to me so I can share it. Friday night, we're going to have a couple of candidates on, and we'll tease that during the week. And we're going to go, it's full tilt. starting now. You see, on our shows on Monday and Friday nights, essentially the campaign season begins tonight. Not just 2021, but 2022. Please join us. Let us work with you. Let us help us promote your candidacy. Folks, you've been listening to the Libertarian Affiliate Spotlight on LPTV, Libertarian Party Television, a production of the Libertarian Party Affiliate Support Committee. Valerie Sarwak serving as chair. And of course, the Libertarian National Committee, Whitney Bilyeu serving as chair. Again, a big thanks to John Gabso joining us on the big board tonight. Ran from his daytime employment. I believe I'm starting to hear the law enforcement sirens now, an hour later. Managed to make it down here. I am eternally grateful for his contribution. It's his job to put up the fun, the graphics, the websites, all that stuff. My name is Pat Ford. I am proud and humbled to have this opportunity now, going on a year and a half, to talk to all of you a couple of times a week about the libertarian movement. Folks, have a wonderful week. There's programming every night on LPTV. A lot of great stuff. Tune in when and whenever you can. All of this continues to reside on our YouTube channel and the LPTV and the LP Facebook page. So feel free to dial back and catch some snippets of candidates who've joined us before. And of course, stay tuned for the candidates who will join us in the upcoming weeks. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you soon.
Are you tired of career politicians forcing their decisions on you, what your medical choices are, where your children go to school, how your business is run? As your state representative, Clinton Cowart, Savannah native, will fight to support your choices for your Georgia.